Hello and welcome back. I'm Nicole, a cottage witch, and today I am finally doing a many months late VR to the tag 21 Tarot Questions by Peggy and Lisa Pepez. So the first question is, what is the deck they'll have to pry out of your cold dead hands? And that is this one. The Gentle Tarot, the pocket edition in the little tin. I did modify the foam inside the tin because I found it that I couldn't get the cards out very easily. But everything about it is beautiful. It's just my favorite thing. It feels amazing. It's gilded really well. I've heard some kinds can hurt your hands, but this doesn't hurt mine. The backs are lovely, the cards are beautiful, and her artwork just, I don't know, I can connect with it on a heart and soul level. I mean, really, look at that fox. It just makes me smile every time I look at it. Even the cards that are a bit challenging and not really cheerful necessarily. I don't know, there's a depth to it, and it is very gentle, and quite often that's what I need. Every now and again, not so much, but usually. So that's the Gentle Tarot by Mari in the Sky, and that is absolutely, if I can get the lid back on, the deck that I have to pry out of my cold dead hands. Number 2, what is your guilty pleasure deck? Generally, I try to avoid guilt about pleasures these days. I grew up a fundamentalist Christian, which I wouldn't recommend. I mean, if you want to be Christian, knock yourself out, but the fundamentalist bit I can do without quite nicely. And so I try to avoid guilt now when it comes to pleasures, but this deck is just fun. So I just went with pleasures for this one, and I love the TV show Buffy. And I realized the guidebook for this deck has a myriad of issues, so I don't use the guidebook. I mean, but I don't usually use guidebooks anyway, unless they're something really special. Like the Herb Crafter's Tarot, I use that guidebook, and the Kantaji Oracle. I like that guidebook, but it has to have a little something more than just the book meanings for me to even be bothered with it. So yeah, and I know I've watched the show through a couple of times, so I know, like, I might not remember the names of specific characters, but I know the moment of each of these cards. So that's a funny one. And it's just fun. I've used it a little bit this fall, not for anything serious, just for a little bit of fun. And it does that really well for me. So that is my not guilty pleasure deck, which is Buffy the Vampire Slayer Tarot, and I've, yes, edged it in purple because some people might think that's purple overkill, but you know, it works for me. So that's my not so guilty pleasure. Number 3, what is the deck you wished existed? So there are 3 of them, and they all kind of exist now. And one of them, which I haven't gotten, is the Literary Tarot, because I may make myself one someday, with my own bookish geekishness. Geekiness? Bookish geekiness. That's what I was going for there. Good. Okay. So that deck I wish existed in a way that fits me personally, so I think it's the sort of thing I'll just have to do for myself. The other 2 decks that I wish existed are ones that I have made for myself because I wanted them to exist, and they didn't. Now I use the Herb Crafter's Tarot, and I've got a couple other very earthy decks that I use, but I wanted one specific to my practice of herbalism. So I made one, and this is the Tarot Association, the plant, the reasons for the Tarot Association, and then some herbalism information that I'm trying to learn from various books. The different cultures are different books. They're just sort of, that's an indicator to me, so I know which book I got the information from. Yeah, and most of the pictures I took, the elder I didn't, because I've never actually seen elder in person, but the dandelion I took. That one is, the court cards don't have any information on them yet. One day. But like sunflower, the seeds are sometimes used, but some of them don't have a lot of information yet. However, let's find blueberry. I always forget that's what blueberry leaves look like. Has a lot of uses in a lot of cultures. And so I've chosen that for the gift of wisdom. So I put a key phrase for each of the cards as well, except I think for the court cards. And this deck, because this deck was also a learning tarot deck for me. Is this lemon balm? Yes. Haha. I love lemon balm. I need a better picture of garlic one day. I'll actually get it to go on my balcony, and then I'll be able to take a better picture of it. Some neighborhood mushrooms. So that's one of the decks I wish existed that now exists. And part of the reason I didn't film this a couple of weeks ago was because that was the time I was making the third deck that I wish existed, which is a really good Doctor Who deck. Not a pip deck, not a half-assed deck, but a really good Doctor Who deck made by people who care deeply about the stories. And so I made one. And it's not the most professional thing you'll ever see. And that's the back, is the 11th Doctor's, yeah, the 11th Doctor's exterior of the TARDIS, and the border is the 12th Doctor's interior, because those are his bookshelves back there, and I like them. And so some of the photos I couldn't find great quality ones, so they're a bit blurry. But you know, in a basement in Cardiff. And I really thought of this deck as because I know the show so well, because I've watched it many times, I thought of it as my personal, like chocolate frog cards from Harry Potter, where they show a little, where basically it's a clip. And the clip that is in my mind for the Five of Swords is actually the moment where she shoots the inside of the TARDIS. But I couldn't find a photo of that. I like Donna for the Queen of Wands, but some of the court cards I'm not 100% decided on, but I printed it out anyway because I just wanted it. This is 9 going into 10. And so some of them, it's a mishmash. Like this, one of the best photos I could find of Missy is a promotional shot, so it's quite clear. But part of the reason for choosing this is she is always coming up with new ideas, and one of those new ideas involved kind of bringing people back to life in a Cyberman kind of way. But I didn't have all the imagery to capture that. So for me, because I know the show and I know what I was thinking of, that's what I think of when I see that. Rosa Parks for Justice, because who else was I going to put? The Seven of Swords for Deception is the Doctor inside the Doctor suit. Really nobody who's not familiar with Doctor Who would understand these associations, because he's inside of a robot doctor. Very sneaky. I mean, some of them you might be able to understand, but some of them, not so much. There's the Dalek ships. So anyway, this is just, and it's just a little playing card size because that was cheaper, which, you know, I'm a big fan of that. And also, there's another promotional shot, but what else was I going to use for the Magician? I mean, come on. Anyway, so some of them are like higher quality photos, but I didn't have HD photos for all of them, so the smaller size makes it less noticeable that some of them are really blurry. And also I couldn't size all of them properly to get everything that I wanted, because I wanted him, but in this moment where he's telling her he doesn't care that she got old, he cares that she got old without him. That's not going to make any sense if you haven't seen the show. Apologies. Anyway, so sometimes I couldn't size it properly because I'm really not a graphic designer. But I knew the moment that I wanted represented. So some of them are a bit weird. That is the death of Prime Minister. Why am I blanking on her name? Somebody just... No, hang on. It'll come to me. And then I'll, you know, smack myself in the head for blanking on her name because she announces it every time she introduces herself. That I think was also a promotional shot, but I couldn't find a good picture of the giraffe dance from Amy Pond's wedding. There is one picture, dinosaurs on a spaceship, just makes me happy. There is one image that I took from Torchwood, the spin-off series, and some of the other characters make appearances, but River Song and Eleven tend to be some of my favorite characters, so they appear more often than some of the other characters, although I do like her as well. And so this is another one of those moments where I was thinking of the moment where she turned down being a companion of the Doctor in order to stay on Earth and do the work that she was doing because it was important. So anyway, that's probably enough of me geeking out about Doctor Who as the card comes up where she actually says the words Doctor Who. So yeah, that's my exceptionally geeky moment of the day. Those are the decks that I wish existed, and now I've made 2 of them exist. And I may revise them at some point as I use them and as I get to know more about tarot, and in the case of the herbalism, and just decide that something else might fit better here or there or whatever. But anyway, they work for me at the moment and they make me very happy. Number 4, what deck would you give to a new reader? I know a lot of people have said the RWS deck for this, but I would go with an RWS clone in a style that appeals to whoever's trying to learn, because they're usually, you can usually find pretty inexpensive RWS clones on Amazon or wherever, if you're not, I mean, I don't love the ethics of Amazon, but it's cheap. And so for me, this was the first tarot deck I ever got because it was mini and cute. And I mean, look at it, it's adorable. I love it. And so it was really inexpensive. And I didn't know this at the time because I didn't know anything about the different systems at the time, but it ended up being a good choice because it's basically an RWS clone. It's got all the same, almost all the same symbolism in there. Even a lot of the same colors, just done more in a style and in tones that I like. Because the original RWS, the artwork, no offense to Pamela Coleman Smith, does nothing for me. I can't for the life of me connect with it. So I've learned about it, but I don't use it. Whereas this artwork is very RWS, but I just like it so much better. So this was really my learning deck. And I enjoy it. I mean, look at the Fool. It's so cute. And I find this one very easy to read with. So that's what I would say is a simple RWS deck in a style that suits you and that appeals to you, you know. Number 5. This is maybe going to be a longer video than I thought because I'm a bit unexpectedly rambly today. Oh well. Number 5. What deck do you want to get along with, but it just never clicked? And that is, now I can't get this open. That's great. When I first started learning tarot, I didn't realize there were fake decks out there, and so I accidentally bought a couple, which I wouldn't recommend because they're just not the same. So I may get the real one of this at some point, but this, you know, it's got the QR code on the bottom, which usually indicates, not always, but usually indicates a fake deck, and it's smaller than usual in the cheap tuck box, which I don't think the actual one comes in. And I enjoy Julie Dillon's artwork, and I think it's a really well thought out deck and could probably work quite well, and is very RWS from what I've seen. I mean, I've spent a fair bit of time looking at the cards. I don't know. Never worked for me. I don't know if that's because it's a forgery, like a knockoff, or what, but maybe that's a sign that I should get the real one someday, because I did always enjoy pretending to be a mermaid in the pool as a kid. So maybe I'll do that one day. But yeah, this one I can't get the back of the box. Haven't really connected with. All right, number 6. What deck do you only keep for the art? I don't really have one that I only keep for the art, but I definitely got the Tarot Avatara because of the art. And I keep it because of that, and because I love many other things about it. But I love Frida Kahlo, and I love Gabby Angus West, and so Gabby Angus West's artwork inspired by Frida Kahlo. I mean, it's stunning. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, there's not really anything I could say about it that I haven't said before, but everything about this deck is absolutely gorgeous. And if I didn't have the Gentle Tarot, this would be the one you'd have to pry out of my gold dead hands. This is a very close runner-up in terms of decks that I adore. So yeah, I don't keep it just for the artwork, but I mean, the artwork is a huge contributing factor. Number 7, what deck did you buy because everyone else did? And that would be, and I didn't get it for a long time, but that is the pocket edition of The Wild Unknown. Because I wasn't sure if I liked the artwork at first, and I decided that I do. It's also very cheap to get on Amazon or wherever. And I don't use it a lot. I use it mostly in the winter, so I haven't used it in a bit. That's fascinating. Like that one. I like that one too, actually. And I think there's more to get into in her artwork than I originally imagined. And probably more animals that I could learn about than I currently know about. That's a forest fire just waiting to happen. But yeah, so I'm not mad about it. But it is the deck that I got just because everyone else got it. And yeah, I'm not sorry that I have it. What deck is over your head or just baffles you? Also not mad about this one, but the Avatara here it's very thothy, it's very abstract and sort of surrealist. I mean, I don't know all the proper art terms, but that's how it seems to me. And Like, I just feel like there's more going on there than I am understanding at the moment, which is not a problem. It's actually, I mean, it's sort of a problem, but it's a good problem to have. Because I certainly won't get tired of it anytime soon. Because there's always something new to get from any of the images. So yeah, that would be, if there was a deck that baffled me or went over my head, it would be this one. Number 9, what deck surprised you? I don't know that I have any that I would say surprised me, but I did surprise myself by making my own decks. Didn't see that coming. What deck doesn't really work for you, but you keep it because it's a collectible? I don't really have any that fit into this category. Certainly I'll keep this one forever. Even if I stop using it as a tarot deck, I'll still keep it for the artwork. And also the shipping from Australia to Canada is just a bit difficult. So there's that. I don't want to do that again. But yeah, I don't really have collectible decks. Number 11, what deck is your favorite gilded deck? That is also this one. I mean, I liked the Gentle Tarot gilding, but there's something just luxurious about the gilding on the Tarot Avatara. It's really beautifully done. Number 12. What deck do you love but hate the cardstock? So hate is a strong word, and I don't think I really have any decks that I hate the cardstock. But the decks that come in these Hay House boxes that are all this size, I mean, I like this deck really quite a lot. This is the Guardians of the Night by MJ Cullinane. But the cardstock is just, I don't know, it just feels like cardboard to me. I'm not a cardstock snob. In that I don't really know much about it and can't generally afford to be snobby about it, although the Avatara has, this is just some of the best. I don't know if it's, I feel like it's probably linen, but it's a matte finish and feels nice and shuffles nice, and yeah, so no complaints about that one. This one, I mean, it shuffles fine, it just feels like cardboard, and I don't really, doesn't really do anything for me from a, you know, tactile experience perspective. But again, I don't hate it, it's just sort of meh. It's okay. It's nothing to write home about though, at least in my opinion. Maybe other people like it, I don't know. There are a lot of different opinions about cardstock, so everybody, there's something out there for everybody, I expect. Number 13, what deck gives you the willies? So the only deck that really does that for me is just some of the cards in this one. This is the New Era Elements Tarot by Eleanor F. Piper. And some of the cards, as you can see, are beautiful. And then some of them are just a bit ew. Yeah, look away now if you don't want to see that. For some reason, this just makes me a bit cringy. So it's not really the willies, but it's a bit, it just makes me cringe a bit. It's very American. And it's very, ew. If you don't like spiders, this is not the one for you. There's a cruelty towards animals issue, and that's just, ugh. Yeah. But those are the only major ones that I pulled out that are like that. Like some of them, okay, that's not a pleasant card, but they don't give me the creeps or anything. And some of them are really, I mean, that's obviously unpleasant, but that's a different sort of experience. Same with this. Unpleasant, but not creepy unpleasant, horrifying unpleasant, but that's a different thing. And then some of them are so beautiful, and a lot of the faces are really beautiful too. I like her artwork. So that's the New Era Elements Tarot, which I also haven't used lately because I mostly use it in the wintertime. 14. What's your favorite deck for shadow work? I don't really do shadow work. I'm not so into Jungian psychology. Really, it doesn't do much for me. I mean, I work on myself, obviously, and trying to improve myself in various ways, but I can do that with any deck. I don't need a shadowy deck for that. Number 15, what decks do you love in theory, excuse me, but not in practice? There have only been a couple, and like the Moonology I gave away, so I don't have that to show anymore. But the Celtic, or Celtic, or however you pronounce it, Tree Oracle, sorry. And the reason for this is because I like the artwork, but I just never clicked with it for some reason. And then as I've been learning more about Irish and Scottish folklore and traditions and whatnot, I've learned that some of these tree associations, gee, I'm having trouble with enunciation today, are just made up. I mean, to a point, all associations are made up, but made up very recently. Like some of these are not traditional associations. In the guidebook, it makes it sound like they are, but they're not, because not all of the OM are associated with certain trees. Some of them are, but not all of them. So it's a bit misleading in that regard. And but I still love the artwork, and I love a lot of these plants. Some of them we don't have in North America. So this deck has ended up in my, like this one I've never even heard of before. And this one we don't have here. This we do. Not white poplar, but many poplar and aspen trees. But this deck has ended up in my collage supplies box of things that I don't really want to get rid of it. But also the artwork is beautiful. Yeah, like based on ancient Celtic wisdom, which revered trees. I mean, they may have revered trees. They certainly have revered certain trees. But some of the associations are just made up, like steeped in Celtic cosmology. Some of that cosmology is a very recent invention. As I've learned from Laura O'Brien's channel mostly, who's a great source of Irish folklore information. I know she teaches about the OM actually at her school. Number 16, what deck would you never use to read for someone else? All of them, because I never do this. I only use them for me. I've never in my life read for anybody else, and I don't know if I ever will. I mean, never say never, but at this point in my life, it's unlikely. You know, 10 years from now, who knows? Number 17, what deck would you never use for yourself? None of them. None of them at all, because I get them because I love the artwork, or in the case of Buffy, I love the show, and I like the artwork in that deck. It's fun. And so I don't really have a reason to not use a deck for myself, unless it's one like the Celtic Tree Oracle or Moonology that I've decided I'm just not going to use at all. In which case, because I'm the only person who uses them, or I use them for, then I guess you would say those. Anyway, next question. Number 18, what deck could you not bring yourself to buy? Which is the same as number 21, what's the deck that got away, and that is the Majestic Earth Tarot, which I think was out of print by the time I even heard that it existed. But on eBay, it's like $800 Canadian. It's unbelievably expensive, and there's no earthly way I will ever pay that much money. If it comes back into print someday, I mean, I won't complain and would instantly get it, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen. So it might just be the one that got away, which, you know, that's life. It happens. Number 19, what's your favorite pip deck? I don't have very many. Really, I think only the one at the moment. And I'm not opposed to them anymore. I used to be strongly opposed to them because the imagery meant so much to me, the artwork. However, I did get this, whoops, 7th Sphere Marseille Tarot, which is pippish. I mean, obviously it's a pip deck. It's Marseille Tarot. They're usually, well, really almost always pip decks. And I'm not, you know, adept at reading this by any means. And sometimes the first thing that comes into my mind is the RWS meanings. But I do have the book Untold Tarot, which I think is quite good. I've read through that and will use it as a reference book when I next feel in the mood to put some work into this one again. But yeah, I think this is the only pip deck I've got, really. Can't think of another one. So yeah, may get some more in the future, may not, but at the moment, I wanted to learn Marseille, and as good gilding goes, there's more of it. And this is beautiful. And number 20, which, because I already answered 21, will be the last one. What deck slaps you with the truth? And there are two. The most blunt deck I've got is the Steampunk Tarot. It doesn't mess around. There's no fluff, no extras, no nothing, just facts. I like that 8 of Wands. Yeah, very straightforward. Which is another reason I liked getting it as my first deck, because it was very easy. I didn't have to, there wasn't a lot of like strain to find meaning in those images. But the other one that does that as well, not quite so bluntly, and in a very beautiful way, is Tarot of the Abyss, which is my winter earth spirit. Yeah, very wintry sort of deck for me. And I also find this very straightforward, but not quite so. Like, steampunk might be blunt if we're personifying our decks today, bordering on rude. Whereas this one it's a bit gentler, but it's very straightforward. Her artwork is just, I don't know, it's easy. It's just easy to read. Easy to find meaning in the images in this deck. They're all so evocative and so beautiful. I love it. So anyway, now that it's fall, but winter, you know, you can feel it's on the way. I've gotten this one out again and I'm loving it. So there we go. That's my 21 tarot questions. VR, if you made it this far, congratulations and thank you, and I'll see you next time.